Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We'll make a start. My name is Richard Cohen, the Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Learning, Teaching and Student Services. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the 2018 Learning and Teaching Forum. I'll ask the Vice-Chancellor and the Chief Guest to take their seats, please. If you go on the right-hand side, on my right-hand side, your left. And I'll ask the guests to be garlanded. Thank you very much for that. So again, welcome to the Vice-Chancellor and Teaching Forum for 2018, and a warm welcome to our viewers tuned in from our regional campuses through our live streaming on the university website. And I'd also like to acknowledge the participants who are here for the Pacific People's Research Skills Symposium who are joining us this morning. As you see from the program, our theme this year is assessment in the flexible learning space. It's no secret to anyone in this room that flexible learning has been a big part of the university's business right from its inception. And flexible learning opens up opportunities for learning, teaching in a variety of individuals as well as groups of learners to work at their own and place, both synchronously and asynchronously, and with and without the use of a wide variety of increasingly affordable digital technologies. While this is the case, the assessment of learning outcomes in such an educational space is challenging, and there's a need to understand how the affordances of contemporary information and communication technologies can be used to assess learning outcomes with confidence in order to help us ascertain that a course and program outcomes and institutional level graduate attributes are being met. This forms the focus of the 2018 Learning Teaching Forum, where we'll seek to showcase best practice in the assessment of institutional and individual learning outcomes. The issues we're interested in are: how effectively do assessment activities measure our stated learning outcomes and attributes? What assessment activities or tools are best suited in a highly flexible learning environment? And how do we ensure the integrity of the various processes and tools we are currently using and investigating in the foreseeable future? So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the basis to the 2018 Learning Teaching Forum. I now have the pleasure to invite the Vice-Chancellor and President, Professor Rajesh Chandra, to give an opening message. VC.
Thank you, Richard. The keynote speaker for this year's Vice-Chancellor's Forum on Learning and Teaching, Professor Jeffrey Crisp, PVC Education at UNSW. Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Learning, Teaching, Student Services, and Chair of the Forum, Professor Richard Cole, members of senior management, Pro Vice-Chancellor, Flexible Learning, and Director, Center for Flexible Learning, Professor Som Naidu, recipient of the Vice-Chancellor's Learning and Teaching Prize, and recipients of all the other prizes that will be given out today, staff, students, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, everybody who is watching through live streaming. I'd like to join Richard in extending a very warm welcome to everybody here and everybody watching. This is an important occasion, and we need to have the opportunity to listen to some distinguished speakers, as well as have the opportunity to dialogue among ourselves. I want to extend a very special welcome to Professor Jeffrey Crisp. We are delighted, Jeffrey, to have you here. And of course, as DVC has explained, you're addressing a very key element of our learning and teaching. and an area that has been of special interest both to us but also to the WASC people who came out to do our accreditation. And but therefore, your presentation, Jeffrey, makes a lot of, has a lot of meaning this time around. I will not speak about assessment, obviously, because we all want to leave it to the experts. And since this is the last of the Vice-Chancellor's forums, for me, as I leave the university at the end of the year, I have, like many people, become a bit nostalgic and reflective. So I'll run through some of the things as I see it, and then I will talk a little bit about one or two things that I want to leave those thoughts behind in terms of where I feel we need to go. And I'll talk a little bit about what we have set out in the new plan. Now, I introduced the Vice-Chancellor's Forum for Learning and Teaching in 2009, barely 6 months after I arrived. Despite all of the financial problems, and at that time we had financial problems, we had reputational problems, we had scandals, we had declining enrollment. Despite all of those, I realized that we needed to do something that would promote good learning and teaching, because I clearly saw that as a very important initiative. And I particularly wanted to provide an opportunity to have a university-wide conversation because we were going to do a lot of things, and it was very good to have the chance for everybody to engage and have the opportunity to bring some of the world's leading experts in the various aspects of our learning and teaching. But at the same time, be able to recognize the work that our people were doing, so that we were learning, showcasing and learning from pockets of really very good work that was going on. In that first year, I had announced very serious, deep restructuring and transformation of the university as a response to the problems. But I also realized that simply solving those immediate problems would not serve the university well. And that what we had an opportunity for was to actually change the university going forward. And so we engaged in what became known as the STAR project, the Strategic Total Academic Review, which was designed to totally redesign our academic system. Not make incremental changes, ask the basic questions about what is it that we are doing, why is it that we are doing those, do we need to do those, and do we need to do it in the form that we were doing that. And the institution of the forum was actually very much part of that, so that we'd have that conversation going forward. We also wanted to make sure that we were driving this conversation pretty strongly and aligning it to what the institution needed. And was a sign that the area of learning and teaching would receive the attention at the highest levels. Wasn't something that was going to be left to other people. That the Vice-Chancellor himself would be directly involved, will commit the senior management to it, and it'll be supported from the entire team. And I maintained that because except for 2 years, 2015 and 16, when it fell during a period when we had the forum leaders meeting where we are required to be, I have attended every one of them. The first one, we brought in Professor Richard Larkins, who was then the Vice-Chancellor of Monash University, the President of Universities Australia, to talk about learning and teaching as he saw it. So that was our attempt to see how big universities were dealing with something that we were starting. The following year, we were able to bring, say, Adrian Webb, who talked about how he transformed his own university. We were keenly interested in this whole idea about how have people, how have leaders of universities transformed universities. We were trying to learn from that. And when I welcomed him and made my remarks, I framed that time, those remarks, in terms of shifting gear, USP at 50, from good to a great university. So clearly, at that time, it was our intention to drive this thing towards what the university needed. Learning and teaching change, the STAR project, all of those were fitting in very clearly with what we wanted to do. I said at that time that good is not good enough. The Pacific Islands deserve a great university. USP is an exceptional university. We owe it to the region to transform USP into a great university. This should inform our thinking, planning, and all resource allocations from now onwards. That was the tone that we were setting at that time, and that we needed an intensive dialogue among ourselves and our stakeholders regarding what this means for the university, and all staff members need to be on board. And I think those things have very closely guided all our learning and teaching and all our planning since that time. In 2011, we were very fortunate to have Professor Peter McPhee, Provost of the University of Melbourne, and the person we brought here because he was the one who oversaw the most dramatic change in the Australian academic system when Melbourne went over to an American system of a 4-year degree. And we wanted to know, how does one navigate such a transformation, such a major change? And he talked about thinking about teaching better, 4 challenges for universities. The next year, we were concerned about the success of our first-year students. And so we invited Professor Sally Kift, DVC at James Cook University, to talk about a transition pedagogy for first-year student success. So every year, we were choosing themes that we felt needed particular attention, and those themes were coming both from the strategic plan as well as the feedback. So everybody was concerned about attrition in the first year. Governments were concerned about the losses they incurred by sending their students who did not succeed. In 2013, we wanted to talk a little bit more about the newer pedagogies and intensive use of technologies. So Mr. Dave Cormier, who is credited with coining the word MOOC, came to talk about the new learner towards a pedagogy for abundance. Because we were and are still very interested in all of these key developments in learning and teaching. We followed that the following year with Professor Vijay Kumar of MIT coming to us and talking to us on opening up new insights for educational innovation and opportunity. That was an extremely useful presentation for us because it showed how MIT, as a leading disruptor of learning and teaching, as a leading practitioner of technology-enabled learning, how was it doing? In 2015, we had Dr. Philip Gardner from Michigan State University speak on nurturing innovation and entrepreneurship in our learning and teaching. This probably is going to be one of the highlights of the new plan because employability, entrepreneurship, all of these are things that the governments want us to be concerned about. In 2017, we chose open education resources, and Dr. McIntosh came here and talked about, 16, we wanted to talk about, again, technology-enhanced learning and trying to see what USQ had done, because that university had became really very, very successful in what we wanted to do, which was more flexible learning in a very significant way. Following year was McIntosh, talk about innovation represented by Open Educational Resources University. Now today, as DVC has explained, the keynote speaker is going to talk about really significant changes that are required in the way we conceive of assessment and significant way in which we practice this assessment. And really to bring this thinking of ours into the 21st century because so much is different. This is of vital importance to us because it is the relevance and value and reputation of our programs that ultimately provide the sustainability for the university. Nobody will fund the university unless they see something of value from us. We have come a long way, and each year we have focused on different things. And as I've said, this year we have been particularly concerned about innovation. Now, it's important also that we think hard about what we do in the next 6 years. And in that sense, we have chosen to continue with our uplifting objectives for learning and teaching. We have 5 main objectives, and I want to go through them because that is what will guide all our conversation, all our work going forward. We want to offer a world-class pedagogy and curriculum across all campuses with emphasis on digitally enhanced learning and teaching. We want to provide future-focused programs that are relevant and responsive to the needs of the region and to foster labor mobility. We want to provide continuous improvement in the quality of learning throughout the university. We want to ensure student success and levels of employability commensurate with world-class pedagogy and curriculum. And we want to strengthen pathways from pre-degree and sub-degree to our undergraduate programs and develop new pathways. The reason I laboriously go through these things is the success of the university depends on the discipline with which we focus our conversations going forward. Now, the thoughts that I want to leave with you are these. The first is that we need to be able to measure all of the components of our learning and teaching. We are now in an era of very deliberate learning and teaching by design, by good design, or by excellent design. we are in an era of empowered students and stakeholders, and therefore the university must have a matrix of finely tuned tools to collect data so that we can measure and demonstrate to others what we are doing. You will have heard me speak on that before. This measurement needs to lead to genuine institutional research, analytics, and institutional learning. Again, things that have been emphasized by WASC accrediting process. I've also raised the question previously, and others have raised it for us to think about. How much do we know about the learning styles of our Pacific students? Okay. And as I was thinking about it, I thought that when you look at the vision of the university, which is excellence in uniquely Pacific learning and innovation for sustainable development of Pacific people, it's time that the university actually seriously looked at this question of what exactly is unique about Pacific learning, and what do we know about what it is. The answer, certainly for us, is that we have very hard, little empirical data on what is the learning style of our Pacific students. Beyond the normal claim that all of us can make, that we have had success in teaching Pacific students over a long period of time. But that is not good enough, because we need to research and demonstrate what is it that we mean by uniquely Pacific, what is it that will make our Pacific students more successful. And I suggest that this become an initiative in our learning and teaching, because if you set up a vision, then you need to be very, very sure what that vision is, what it means, and how does it drive everything forward. I also want to make sure that the university aligns significant part of its assessment work around what the WASC accrediting process has told us. And they want significant improvement in the assessment of student learning outcomes, including the use of direct evidence to assess student achievement of undergraduate program learning outcomes and postgraduate outcomes. The results of the assessment of student learning outcomes, along with pass rates and grades, will measure student success. The university should demonstrate student achievement of the 7 graduate outcomes across all undergraduate programs. So as we discuss assessment, we need to make sure not only that the practice of assessment from lecturers is best practice, but that the institution as a whole is assessing itself and making sure that when you add all of the outcomes of all of the courses, that at the end of the day, when the students graduate, the university graduate has those attributes. And so we have moved basically from just thinking about how do I grade my students to basically, okay, you've done your assessment in the most modern way. How does the institution then assess that what we say our graduates have is what they have? And I think this is the big challenge for us as an institution to think like that. We have experts to guide us, so that's all I wanted to say. And we all have been wanting to really listen to Jeffrey. So I will stop there. I would want to welcome everybody. Again, I want to extend a very special welcome to Jeffrey, who is a very internationally recognized speaker on this. And I want to wish everybody a very productive learning and teaching forum. And I want to congratulate all of the recipients of the prizes. Vinaka Bakalebu, Dhanabad, and thank you.